With the National less than 2 weeks away, I wanted to share with you guys some mistakes that I see people make. Now, this is my third National. I went to Chicago back in 2019 and also 2021. And this is my 24th state, I believe, for a card show. So almost halfway done with that 50 state goal. Just super exciting. With that in mind, here's some of the mistakes that I've seen at the National and other card shows. The first is being prepared for the event. I'm going to lump in a few different tips that I've seen posted online recently. Number one is wearing comfy shoes. 100% agree with that. Don't go into the National with flip-flops or something that's very uncomfortable. The reason is you're going to be walking around with so many different tables. I'd recommend tennis shoes specifically if you want to invest in them. You should get some running shoes. That way you have a little bit more extra cushion and you get a little more spring on your step, especially as you walk around and try to find those deals. Make sure you bring cash. Fortunately, there are some dealers that are cash only even in 2022. It's annoying because I want to have everything through PayPal, Venmo, worst case scenario, but some dealers are super strict on cash only. So make sure you bring cash and also bring chargers or a battery pack. That way, if your phone dies, which by the way, it will because you're going to be on your phone a lot, whether you're comping or trying to talk to friends at the event, make sure you have a backup plan to charge that up. The second tip is to have realistic expectations. So many people don't going into the event. See tons of posts daily saying that you can find any card at the National. If it's not at the National, it does not exist. And it's just not true. The thing is, there's rare cards that are going to be put into people's PCs and they will never see the light of day. For example, some test issue Topps cards from the 1960s, less than 10 or 20 total pop between PSA and SGC. Sometimes people aren't going to sell those cards. You're not going to find them out there. There's some European releases or Latin American releases that I want to find both in baseball and also non-sports. However, I'm going into the event not expecting to find the cards. If I do, that's awesome, but don't have those expectations because if you don't find those cards, you're going to come back disappointed when there's so many different opportunities there. So if I don't see any 1930s Venezuelan cards, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. So with that in mind as well, if you find a rare card that you want in your PC, take action and buy the card. Sometimes something will be a little bit over comps, but good luck finding that card. Sometimes they're only on a marketplace every 2 or 3 years, and you're not going to find it at other card shows. You might, but the chances are statistically that card will not be there. And if you pass up on the card, there's going to be another diehard collector that's going to be walking around that show and has also been looking for that card for 5 or 10 years and is going to pull the trigger and buy that card. And when you go back to that dealer later that day or the next day, that card will be gone. So if you see a scarce card, buy it. Don't make the mistake of walking out. So the next mistake I actually made back in 2019, and that's realizing that the National extends way past the card show every single day. So there's going to be trade nights all the way past midnight. Kind of like the Dallas card show where the show never sleeps. I didn't realize that back in 2019. And for example, Ryan Card Collector 2 throws on a trade night every single year. I went in 2021 and there was thousands of people all in one room trading. And that's a great opportunity to either buy, sell, or trade cards. Some of the people in there aren't firm on prices like dealers. Let's say a dealer buys a card at 75%. They're expecting to sell it at 90 to 95%. Some dealers will sell it over 100%, but realistically that 90-95% threshold. However, someone in that trade night room might have pulled that card from a pack or got it in a trade and aren't too concerned on making a ton of money on it. So you might be able to buy that card at 70 or 80% or trade up to something that you've really, really wanted. Tons of great opportunities at these events or hotels. Another mistake is not researching the different corporate booths and what they have to offer. For example, last year, I entered into a free high-end break with SGC since I submitted some vintage cards with them. Anyone that submitted cards could get into the break, and I think they opened up Diamond Icons or Definitive. Now, I didn't hit anything, unfortunately. I got skunked, but some other people got like a Roger Clemens autograph, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. autograph, and also someone pulled a cut auto of a Hall of Famer. Forget who it was, but you can watch it in my card show vlog from last year. So even if you're looking just to primarily buy at the National, I really recommend that you bring at least 10 cards to the event. I know some people don't want to, but highly recommended. And the reason is you might spend all of your money early on in the show. And by bringing those extra cards, you can work out some trade plus cash deals or just completely sell those cards for more cash. And you have a lot of opportunities, whether it is at trade night or it's people walking the floor or dealers. And lastly, the biggest mistake I see people doing is absolutely zero planning. You can't go to the National and wing it. If you do, you might have a poor experience. It doesn't matter if you're going to the National for 1 day or multiple days. Now, if you're only going to the National for one day, spend the first half of the day buying as much as you can, going around the show, because a lot of these dealers aren't going to be set up at your local card show or even a large regional show like Dallas or a Chantilly. Some of them just only set up at the National. So go around, find some of those dealers because they have some really, really unique inventories. The second half of the day, spend it as a museum. Go around and admire the cards that you aren't going to see in person for a long time. In fact, you're going to find a lot of 1952 Topps mantles there. You might see a Honus Wagner. You might see a Babe Ruth rookie. And I know last year when I was walking around, I believe Heritage had a bunch of different Tito 6 red Cobb backs and all in one place. And I thought it was one of the coolest things. So treat it as a museum your second half of the day. And if you're there for multiple days, again, go to some of the events like I mentioned earlier, whether it's trade night or some of the different corporate sponsors that host events during the day or after the card show. What's the biggest mistake that you've made at a card show? Put down in the comment section down below, and hope to see you guys all at the National.